All right. Welcome in, everyone. I am Mr. America, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. I want to thank you very much for joining in this wonderful Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, when I normally go live, along with Friday nights and Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern. So thank you guys for joining in. A man all about the liberty, all about the freedoms, all about the individual, talking about the current events of today. So since the last time we spoke, which was on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern. A little bit's gone on, and there's a little bit of controversy going on, and so let's break some of this stuff down. A lot of things are on the out. A lot of things are going away, and it's it's mildly interesting. Lynn hit the egg bot. That's fine. The big news of today, the big bombshell that just perplexed everybody was the idea that Nikki Haley is stepping down from being President Trump's ambassador at the UN, so at the United Nations. So she's going to be stepping down at the end of this year. This has thrown everybody. If you're listening to any Republican commentator, any pundit, they are talking about what Nikki Haley is doing next. Now, a lot of them are glossing over some of the details, some of the facts. And so I want to bring those to you guys to make sure that we're all getting the same messages and to understand what it is. So she's been talking with President Trump. They've been keeping this in tight wraps, not letting this go out for the last 6 months. And now she said, hey, look, I want to step down at the end of the second year. It's coming up at that point, and so she's ready to leave. President Trump wants her to stay within the administration within some capacity, but that is just merely his desires. That's not been vocalized by her herself. So there's many views of what Nikki Haley possibly is doing. One thing that is for certain is that she did say that she wanted to help out President Trump be reelected in 2020. So she wants to be a part of the administration. So in that capacity. Now, understanding what Nikki Haley has done. So she's been involved with politics for 6 years now, 7 years now. And so she did 6 years as the governor, and then she moved on, or 5 years as the governor, and then she moved on 4 or 5 years, whatever. And then she moved on to being the UN ambassador for 2 years, and now she's kind of stepping back. She's going back onto the back burner, and this has got people wondering in different ways. There's a financial disclosure report that shows that she's at least $1.5 million in debt with over $1 million on her mortgage. So she is hurting for money. So there's some ideas that she may be moving into the private sector. She may be moving out there trying to find big ways of making money that way. Of course, if you want to make money, what it seems like is you just go and run and be a member of Congress, right? We see all these members of Congress that are making about $174,000 a year from the taxpayer dollars, but they're coming out as millionaires because they're making money off of bureaucrats. They're making money off of special interest groups. They're making money from these big corporations that just throw money your way. So if she really wants to pay off her debts, that's really the way to go. How corrupt is that? First off, let's slow down for a second. How corrupt is it that members of Congress are making an abundance of money while still also being paid money from the taxpayers, right? If you're making that much money, let's just cut off your money and call it a day. But of course, we want to have honest people that aren't going to be making money outside of that. So I understand the incentive for that desire to remain. So with her wanting to, if the finances is the big idea behind this, yes, obviously she wants to go into private sector and make a lot of money there. But with her wanting to be a part of President Trump's 2020 re-election tour, Hermit, welcome in. I love it. With her wanting to do this and wanting to be allowed with the president on his re-election tour, my thought process is this. She doesn't want to run against President Trump. She's been a vocal opponent to him prior to becoming a part of being the ambassador. But now the best way to get experience, the best way to know how to work appreciate it, Hermit. The best way to work a presidential campaign is to be on a presidential campaign, to be on and be involved and actually get the ins and outs, if you will, to get that true experience for if you want to run in, say, 2024. This is really the optic that I'm viewing it as, right? So she was at the state level, she ran the state, and she was loved by many South Carolinians. I wasn't a huge fan of her. Nothing too extreme by any means. But she moves from there to be the ambassador of the UN. So she's dealing with nations. And we all have seen what she's said, what she's done over there. She's gotten a lot of good publicity from this. And so it's really building up. It's really morphing this a path in which she really will be able to be successful should she want to run on the national platform and run for, say, Senate or run for president. Now, there are people out there saying maybe she's going to be running for Lindsey Graham's seat. To get sidetracked for a second, the Lindsey Graham situation is very, 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 very frustrating for me. What we've seen for the last 4 years is people saying, look at Lindsey Graham. He's a terrible senator. He doesn't stand up for the right things. He's wishy-washy. He's just a never Trumper from a lot of Trump supporters. He's just a rhino, this, that, and the other. And he spans for 2 weeks during this Kavanaugh hearing. And he says a lot of, Stefan, welcome in, my brother. He steps up and he says a lot of good things. And during the Kavanaugh hearing, and now people are on the, oh man, Lindsey Graham 2.0 is the best thing ever. He's fantastic. We got to make sure we keep him in. People have jumped onto his bandwagon so quickly, so easily, and they think that this is going to be good in the long run. It's not. It's just another political ploy. It's where Lindsey Graham, for the first 4 years, is a rhino. He's not stands up for his values. The last 2 years, right, he gets something, it kickstarts the fire, and he's off and he's fired up and he's ready to go, and he's got the public support behind him. He goes and gets reelected, and he goes, nah, time to take a break again. It's time to relax. It's time to not stand up. It's not time to stand up for my convictions, my morals, my core values. It's my time just to sit back and relax and wait out. And so it's extremely frustrating. So there may be the idea that Nikki Haley will be running against Lindsey Graham in 2020. That has some weird optics if she's going to be running for running with President Trump on the campaign. There's obviously going to be some issues with that. So I don't think that that's a very likely one for the 2020. 2022, I believe Tim Scott's up. So if Tim Scott is up in 2022, she could be running for then, and then she wouldn't be available to run for president until 2030. But so that entire optic, I think that the more likely situation is a possible, possibly she's thrown her hat into the ring for the presidential race in 2024, right? Get the experience, get the understanding of the inside, get the inside baseball from the president of the United States, the incumbent, the guy who's more than likely, as long as the economy doesn't fall out, will be getting reelected. Go inside, learn the ins and outs, learn about how the plan works, learn from somebody who was in a presidential race that seemed impossible for him to win. And he came out on top with a landslide of a victory, right? 271. So he came out in a landslide victory. And so to go into that, there really is only one way to go, and that is to run either for president or, like Irish said, maybe a vice president. I don't think the vice president would necessarily be the best choice for her on the path that she's been, but that may be one of the things, right? Go for vice president and then maybe go into president later. I think she'd be slow rolling it if she was to go for the VP seat. But that's been the big news of today, is that she is now resigning at the end of the year. And this has none of the reporters, no one's leaked this information because it was two people that wanted to keep it secret. So it's always good whenever it works out like that. Here's a good quote that I wish that we would see more people going with. Here's a quote from Mrs. Haley. I don't agree with the president on everything. When there is a disagreement, there's a right way and a wrong way to address it. I pick up the phone and call him or meet with him in person. Now, there's a right way and a wrong way to address it. This is a perfect segue into the next discussion. Now, Hillary Clinton, the president, the former candidate for 2016 election, the one who lost against President Trump, the one that was the guarantee, the 97%, the 93% chance of winning on November 8th, 2016, the one that couldn't blame anyone or could blame everyone but herself for the loss. She is still coming out and she is still speaking to her truth, her power, and she is denouncing civility. She is denouncing civility in an absolute. So I'm going to play a video real quick. Let me know if you guys cannot hear it. I will try to adjust as necessary. But this is her during an interview.
Hillary Clinton's exclusively to our Christian Amador address. Listen, House was what was done last night in the White House was a political rally.
So she's talking about President Trump during the cabinet.
The image and integrity of the court, and that troubles me greatly. It saddens me because our judicial system has been viewed as one of the main pillars of our constitutional government. So,
okay, so she said the judicial branch has been a key pillar in our constitutional government. It's amazing that she wants to sit here and talk about the constitutional government. She wants to talk about how one of the three branches. I'm sorry about that. She wants to talk about how the judicial branch is a key part of the constitutional government. Absolutely, right? We agree. There's three branches of the government, and they're all equal, and so they're all equal in not only in their powers in some capacity, but they're also equal because they're all equally important. If you don't have one branch, it's a fundamental failure on the rest of them. And what she says here coming up speaks truth if you don't look at the parties. If you don't look at the she's pointing it at Republicans, but if you just listen to it, this is actually just our politics as a normal right now.
I don't know how people are going to react to it. I think given our divides, it will pretty much fall predictably between those who are for and those who are against. But the president's been true to form. He has insulted, attacked, demeaned women throughout the campaign, really from.
So I was a little bit foreshadowing, I guess, because I wasn't the part that I was expecting the next part to be. So she's talking about how President Trump has been attacking women, demeaning women, just talking down, just being a condescending man, the way that President Trump is. It's amazing that she would do this after her actions of, all of the women who came out against her husband, and then she was making threats to them, right? Not just to the public, but to them directly. So it's amazing that there's a different set of standards. Yes, he has insulted, attacked, and demeaned every race, creed, color, and gender. And don't forget sexuality as well, right? He is an equal opportunist. It is a matter of your actions, which deems him to demean you. Less about the person, less about the characteristics, less about all of that. It's more about the actions than anything else, which I think is a much better standard than saying, look, I'm going to aggress against somebody because they're a white person, because they're a white male, because they're a straight white male, like what the left does, or because they voted this way or that way. And it's just, eventually we have to figure out a way to fix that entire conversation.
For many years leading up to the campaign, and he's continued to do that inside the White House. All right, joining us now to talk about this and so much more, we have David Gregory.
Uh-oh. So that wasn't this might have been it. That was the wrong video. That is entirely my fault. I need to get a producer in here. Once we get a producer, we will be right as rain. But got an advertisement now. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You're a straight white male. Yeah, I'm a straight white male. I'm a horrible, horrible individual. Somebody needs to really take me out back and just beat me thoroughly for being such a sexist, for being a straight white male. I am oppressing everybody with my white privilege, this, that, and the other. All right.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to.
You cannot be civil
with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe.
So she said, you cannot be civil against a political party that goes against everything you stand for. So on that justification, on that line of reasoning, she is saying, if you are a Republican and you advocate for a smaller government and somebody advocates for a bigger government than what you want, you do not have to be civil. You can stand up in their face. You can yell at them. You can be as bombastic as you please. Because she did not put on there the qualifiers, the quantifiers of what it is that allows somebody. So what she is calling for is outright a destruction and a removal of civility within our society. But she at least explains when we can bring back civility. And this is where things really get just purely egregious.
If we are fortunate enough to win back the House and or the Senate, that's when civility can start again. But until
So once the Democrats take back power, once the Democrats have the Congress, once they have that, then we have to be civil again. Is anybody listening to this? This is the former presidential campaign or candidate. This is the former first lady that is saying civility is not welcome in this country until Democrats come into power again. If this should be denounced everywhere and on every media platform. But instead, because she has a D next to her name, the mainstream media goes, nah, she's right. Let's not have civility. Let's allow Antifa to sit there in Portland, Oregon and direct traffic and call people white supremacists because they're from North Carolina. Ooh, not North Carolina. That's where all 100% of all white supremacists live. That's it. You know, they don't want to denounce people who don't want to be civil. They want to actually tear at another fundamental value that was created or that was a fundamental building block of this nation was civility, right? The entire idea behind the First Amendment, behind the freedom of speech, is that nothing is off limits. Everything should be discussed. Everything can be discussed, and everything can be discussed in a civilized manner in which we can come together and have two different standing points in the beginning and be able to find mutual ground in the middle by being able to discuss things. Now, if you throw civility out the window in accordance with what Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, and now Hillary Clinton have openly advocated against, if we remove those things, all that is created is a further divide. All that is creating is acts of aggression against one another because you disagree. So instead of having two people that are going to come together and find middle ground, be able to actually have discussions with each other, what you're going to have two people standing there throwing Molotovs at each other, and so where the sides split up even further. One of the things about Western society, Western culture, right? The modern Western cultures is that we were a society that was built on a lot of core principles. One of those was civility, freedom of speech, due process, the idea that you are a free person. These are all things that are being aggressed against by the Democratic Party on a large platform. They want to go against all this. They want to literally undermine everything about the American experience and the Western culture, the Western society. And we are looking at this, and it just befuddles me How many people don't actually notice this or don't care enough, right? They want to just go out and see this and go after Hillary Clinton instead of talking to people and saying, this should not be acceptable. Finding people and saying, hey, why do you think that this is an acceptable way to live? Do you, a Democrat, do you find it acceptable that some of your thought leaders, some of your political leaders of today are coming out and denouncing things such as civility, as freedom of speech? If you can at least try to have civility to wake people up to those who are unruly, those who are destructive to the natural fabric, or not the natural fabric, but the fabric of what our nation was created on. If you can have a civil conversation with them and open their eyes, this is how you can fix things. Thank you so much for the retweet and the invite and followers. We have to find ways to just get rid of the higher echelon of the Democratic Party and bring people in that are Democrats that have good principles, good values, and that want to actually have conversations. I know there are Democrats out there. I encourage them. Whenever I talk to one that I see as a Democrat, and I say, you are a reasonable person. You are a Democrat and a reasonable person. You are a unicorn right now in the world that we live in. Run for office. Run for office. You need to bring this back and fix your party. You need to fix your party. You either need to leave and disassociate from your party and allow just the hateful people to be in the Democratic Party, or you need to step up and you need to make the change. This needs to happen. Yes, I completely agree. Get rid of all the scumbags on both ends. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree with you. But it's things like what she said there, right? Let me see if I can rewind it to the right spot.
For what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and or the Senate, that's when civility can start again.
That's when civility can start again. That's when civility can start again. When we have power, that's when we can be okay. And until then, get in your members of Congress's faces. Get in your senators' faces. Get in Trump administration's faces. Get in the faces of any Republican, of any white person, of any straight white male, of anybody, of anything that just doesn't resemble what we want in America anymore. You get in their faces and you keep yelling at them until we're reelected again. Horrible campaign practice. I hope that they utilize this on their campaign trails.
Till then,
we're going to keep running until we have civility.
Recognize and respect is strength. And you heard
still walking. I love it.
The Republican members, led by Mitch McConnell, the president, really.
She mentions two people.
The confirmation process, insulted and attacked not only Dr. Ford, but women who were speaking out. Look, I remember Republican operatives shutting down the voting. And
it's funny that she was talking about demeaning somebody who made allegations against somebody else as if she was not the person that we were looking at during that time. During the time just before her husband was impeached. As if she wasn't the one out there making accusations saying that these are just whores, these are just sluts, these are just women that just want the spotlight. They aren't real, they aren't credible, even when they had evidence. They're just lying, right? The evidence means nothing. But whenever you have somebody like Swetnick or you have Blasey Ford, you have these allegations that come out there and we go, all right, we're going to give you the limelight. Here you go. Is there anything out there? Is there any evidence that's going to corroborate your story? Or is this merely a he said, she said? There's really just a he said, she said. Well, I talked about it in 2012. Cool, you talked about it in 2012. Do you have any reports that you can show us on those? No, I'm not going to give those to you. Oh, okay. Well, I talked about it to this person. I talked to it about this person. So you talked about it, and that's your corroborating evidence. Yep, that's it. All right. Well, that's a non-issue, right? That's a non-starter. You don't really have any evidence. Sorry, we can't just take allegations and accept them at face value and just say, now this person is guilty. We have to ruin this person's life. Nope, of course not, because that's not civility, and that's not what she advocates for. At least she is maintaining the standard. She has never been civil, and she is maintaining the idea that she doesn't have to be civil. It's just disgusting. I cannot wait. I cannot wait until we don't have to see anything else from Nikki Haley. On that day will be a beautiful, beautiful day. But in other news, on Saturday, on the wonderful day of Saturday, what did we have? We had Antifa. Guilty. Yeah, she made her duplex. That was the other thing, right? The building permit to make the front of her house have 2 doors on it. She had that 2008, but she said during the 2012 was when she was discussing the necessity for it. So she had it 4 years before she even talked about it being a necessity. So they didn't question it until after she had it for 4 years, and they were like, "So why did we do this again?" I needed an escape route for the Google interns that we've allowed to come in. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Makes complete sense. Don't worry about the chronological order of things. Time isn't anything. So I just closed the article. I suck. Portland, Oregon. All right. So Saturday we had Portland, Oregon. There was a protest. This protest was all about because of a black man who was shot on September 30th. Now, the allegations around this man before, his name is Patrick Kimmons. He was allegedly shot 2 people and approached officers holding a gun, and then he was shot by police. So Antifa comes out and says, no. The police are never allowed to kill a black man, and should they ever perform that action, it is always an egregious thing, and it needs to be protested against. We don't need the facts. We don't need the statistics. We don't need any evidence, but just merely an officer killing a black man is enough for us to come out and protest. Now, what they did was they were blocking off the roads, and they were not allowing people to come through. They would direct traffic in the ways that they wanted to, so they were effectively being the police. Now, there were police within sight of this. There was no, as far as I could find, there was no request for protesting on the streets. There was no request for a protest. There was nothing of that manner. So these people were just out there on their own, blocking traffic, preventing people from transiting, from taking the path of travel that they would like, and telling people, no, you can't go there. Just go that way, a female protester told, because I told you to. Because I told you to. I now have authority over you, and I get to dictate which way you go, on which time, and when you are allowed to. So these Antifa members, who are supposed to be against fascism, are telling people exactly how they're able to conduct themselves, how they're able to transit around the city. And they were also saying things such as, yeah, brother, you little white effer. The First Amendment, get the F down the road. These are great and beautiful people. It should be extremely difficult for anybody out there to denounce Antifa and their actions as a whole. But of course, the mainstream media says, they're called anti-fascist, therefore they're against fascism. Except for the idea that they actually try to utilize fascism in order to advance their agenda and their narrative. It's things like this where we can see that the mainstream media doesn't give a or doesn't care at all when it comes to civility in this nation. They are propagating this. They are adding fuel to the fire by encouraging this. We've seen members on NBC, on CNN, on MSNBC, where we've had different members of these organizations actually saying Antifa is a decent organization, or they're a good organization, or they're fighting the good fight. And when you are so blinded by your politics and you say, look, their enemy is also my enemy, so they're my friend, you kind of destroy your own argument. You destroy your own civility. You destroy any respect that you would get from anyone who's looking at this in any form of an objective standard. National Socialists calling people Nazis. Yeah, exactly, right? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's looking at the Antifa situation. I'm still dumbfounded that there aren't any people on the left actually denouncing it. What they would rather do is they would rather perform this deflection and say, yeah, but they're against white supremacists and I'm against white supremacists. They're against Nazis and I'm against Nazis. Yeah, but they're out there punching people. Are you out there punching people? Yeah, I mean, I might be punching people. I mean, it might be worth it for me to go out there and punch. No, you're a disgusting human being. If your ideas are that somebody who disagrees with you, I'm going to go punch them in the face, you might have the most egregious views I've ever seen. Maybe not ever seen, but you have some pretty egregious views. If violence is the only way that you can change somebody's minds, your views and your ideas are not worth it. Let's be honest. You should be able to conduct yourself in a better way, especially in a civilized society such as what we have here in America. But it's fun. So just seeing this go down, just seeing Antifa once again hit the news, and seeing nobody wanting to step up against it. When will enough be enough? When? How do we get back civility? How do we transition from such division to unity again? Oh yeah, absolutely. Antifa is far more likely to transition into a Nazi-like structure than the right. Absolutely agree. Got the jungle knife ready for violators of my car space. Chop, chop. That's the way to go. I mean, really, if you're defending your life, your liberty, and your pursuit of happiness, if you feel threatened, you feel threatened. I don't think anyone can look bad at it. Yeah, exactly. No, you're good, Stefan. You don't ever have to apologize for not commenting. I know that you want to. I hate Portland. Won't go downtown anymore. I don't blame you for not liking Portland. When I was, even as a child, like, you could tell that Portland and Seattle was just like a different place. Even Olympia, Washington is just a different place. Like the mainstream views, the views there, they're just slightly off. Like they're focal points. You can tell that they all have good intentions. Complete failure of the DNC and the split of the RNC and the smaller government fractions. That would be interesting. Just seeing the way that they function and the way that they incorporate themselves with others, you can tell that they have good intentions, right? They want to save the environment. They want to save this. They want to protect this. They want to protect that. But you look at them and you just realize that they have such a guise of misinformation about them. Up in the lands of fruits and nuts. I love it. That would be that area, the Pacific Northwest. But there's just this level of misinformation there, and I see it so prevalent. And all you can do is just try to have a conversation and try to enlighten them. And it's like futile. You're like challenging somebody's entire way of life. And so Portland, Oregon, I'm surprised that there are conservatives that live in Portland, Oregon, that live in San Fran, that live in Seattle, that live in these wildly crazy progressive areas. Props for putting up a good fight or for being resilient and not wanting to leave. But at the end of the day, are you happier because of it? That's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to say that you're happier because of it, you know? Yeah. Something's got to change. Something's got to give. Exactly. The comment was, it's almost impossible. They won't listen to more than a sentence without screaming in your face. And I mean, if you guys saw the man from, I believe it was in Toronto, there was a pro-life march advocating for the removal or the legislation to make abortions illegal. And there was a man that during a conversation with a woman, they were having a somewhat civilized conversation, and then something popped in his head. He was like, what would Hillary Clinton do? Hillary Clinton would say, I need to roundhouse kick this woman for disagreeing with me. F the civility. I have to stand on my morals. I have to stand on my convictions. And so he roundhouse kicks her. And as soon as he makes contact, the phone hits the ground, and you can just hear him say, I meant to kick the phone. I meant to kick her property. I didn't mean to kick her. If somebody's wearing a hat, can I kick them in the head and say I was trying to kick you in the hat? Is that an excuse? Or do I still get called a toddler, an uncivilized, savage, disgusting animal? I think I would rather be the latter, right? A disgusting, savage animal for kicking somebody, for attacking somebody for having a different view. She was a pregnant woman as well. Wow, 8 charges against the scum. Yes, I know that the man was fired from his job when that quickly became viral, and rightfully so. The man does not. Those are views that I don't think any corporation, that when they would see something like that, go, that's the person we like hiring. I can't wait to give that guy his next paycheck. So it was nice to see that the corporation came out and took that action. He and if you guys go back and you guys find this video, right, he stands there, he takes the stance, and he gets ready. Like, this wasn't like a spur of the moment, oh, I'm just going to roundhouse kick her in whatever stance I'm in. No, he takes the stance and he gets it ready, and he winds up into that. And it was a savage kick. Yes, absolutely savage. This is why we can't have nice things. Yes, because civility is gone, and we can't have it until Democrats take the House again. Because we know that as soon as they take the House, they're going to try to go for impeachment processings. But after the recent turn of events, it's questionable if they're going to be. I don't think that they're going to be taking the Senate, but the House is going to be questionable if they get control of that. Of course, they only need a simple majority in order to start the impeachment processing in the House. But when it comes to the Senate, it takes 2/3. They are not gaining the 2/3. President Trump will not be removed from office. They will try to discard the Constitution. Yes, like they have been for the longest of times. That is the desires of them. The Democratic Party is just standing against every American value and principle. And I hope that the people of the Democratic Party can wake up to this and say, hey, maybe I shouldn't be following this. Maybe I shouldn't be espousing these views. Maybe I should they don't have to become a Republican. They can just go, I want to be an independent, and I want to find the right people. And I want to find the right people and vote for the right people. But here's a problem with the duopoly that we have in this country, right? The duopoly of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. The two parties that are in place really do get to structure and ensure that they get third party bus. I love it. The duopoly, they really make it difficult for a third party to come in and vote, or to have an actual platform, right? With the 2016 election, we were hoping that Gary Johnson would actually achieve the 10%. I knew that was a far-fetched idea, just based off of Gary Johnson's principles and his rhetoric and his interviews and everything else. But we were hoping that he would at least get the 10%, get the Libertarian Party to be a party that will be viewed as on a national front, to have the opportunity to come in and push in better candidates than Gary Johnson, and hopefully be able to make a change and actually have it to where you have the Democratic and the Republican Party kind of fusing together, advocating for a bigger, larger government. And then you have the Libertarian Party actually advocating for a smaller government, actually standing up and saying, I'm going to reduce the scope and size of the government. I'm going to actually fight for the individual. I'm going to fight for you to have more power. That was really the pipe dream of the 2016 election, and that is still something that we are fighting for right now. The Libertarian for gun control fraud, yes, and I mean his views, his and Bill Weld's views on Federal Reserve, right? They both were in favor of it in some capacity. Bill Weld was less in favor of it, but Gary Johnson was in it for the full capacity, and it's just like, how are you against the government, but you're also in favor of a private organization controlling the money of our country? Like, how are you in favor of that? Why can't we audit the Fed? Why can't we actually get involved with the Federal Reserve? He's just like, no, we don't need to. We can just let them do what they want to do. So it's things like that. Yes, Gary Johnson, horrible on a litany of points and ideologies. But you have to admit, in the 2016 election, he had a chance. And that's who the Libertarian Party put up, and they can't blame anybody but themselves. Red versus blue left us with $21.5 trillion in debt and endless wars. Yes, endless wars and endless spending, and not enough tax income to go around. Unless, of course, the Democrats do come to power, then they'll push the tax. They'll push the increase on your taxes, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I wish that they would talk about that more often, because I think that they would be hurting themselves and preventing themselves from being elected and ensuring another 4 years of lack of civility in this country. It would be beautiful. Or 2 years. Let them not be civil for the rest of ever, and let them be denounced. Let them actually be shut down. Let the media lose all control, lose all following, all viewers, and just watch the entire empire of the left crumble before itself, right? If the Democratic Party continues to advocate for savagery, and the mainstream media continues to advocate for the Democratic Party and continues to advocate for this savagery, and people start waking up slowly but surely, they will lose all control across this country. They will be scurrying, they will be scratching, they will be clawing for any bit of capacity to rule over the people again, and they will not get it. All right, have a good one, Stefan. So the comment was, Trump is on stage at a rally. So if you guys want to hop over there and check out Trump, which is why we lost a couple of viewers, go ahead and hop on over there and enjoy that. I'm actually going to be wrapping it up here in a second. So this is what, whether you're a conservative, a Republican, a Libertarian Party member, whatever it is that you are, as long as you're not in the Democratic Party, this is what you should be hoping, is that you have more of the Hillary Clintons coming out there. You have more people that are actually a member of the Democratic Party, actually with some form of position, coming out and calling out for the savagery, and allowing that to be the wake-up call to the somewhat cognizant people within the party. Take care. I'll never vote Democrat. I appreciate you never voting Democrat. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Because that's how there's two ways of winning. Either you defeat your opponent, right? Or you just become the victor. And so what we've seen in the past is that more people are just becoming the victor. It's not that you're actually defeating your opponent. You're just not your opponent. And so the sides flip. What we want to see is the disgusting views of democratic socialism, communism. All these things are being espoused within the Democratic Party. We need that to be destroyed. And so we want the Democratic Party to actually be defeated. They're well on their way. They're down the road, and they're doubling down every step of the way. Once the dealer calls it off, once their pockets have been drained, that is when the Democratic Party is defeated, and that is when hopefully, we will see an actual small government party actually be formed and actually come together and advocate for the individuals once again. That is the hopes, that is the dreams, and let's hope we can get there. But like I said, I'm gonna hop off here, guys. I apologize for the short discussion tonight. Utterly self-destructing. They have been forced to show themselves. Exactly. And it's continuing. It's continuing. They are just destroying themselves left and right. And they are not even paying enough attention to know that. And it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. So I hope you guys all have a great night. It is Tuesday night, which means the next time I'll see you guys is Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of your week. I will be keeping an ever close watchful eye on what's going on and to find out the best ways to bring liberty back to us. So I hope you guys all have a great night. I will grow that beard in peace. Absolutely. So hope you guys all have a great night. Enjoy your week. And I will see you guys Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. I am Mr. America, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. Take care.